How's it going, everyone? This is Rozalin, and today I'm going to be doing the latest trial boss, Calcabrina. This fight consists of two phases. Phase 1, where you fight Calcabrina when she is split up into 6 of her little dolls, and Phase 2, in which she is just one big doll herself, Calcabrina. The entire difficulty of this fight lies in Phase 1, so that is what my party is set up to do, to get us through Phase 1, so we can win the fight. First off, I have Wilhelm here. And the way I have him set up here is specifically just to take damage. Like, that's it. He's gonna defend the entire fight. Nothing else. To that end, I have him set up for 100% draw attacks. Yes, you could use provoke. This just makes it that much easier. You just guard, be done with it. Now, CG Lid here has a number of responsibilities. She's gonna be using her AoE breaks, the ones that deal damage. And specifically the ones that deal damage. That's actually the most important part. I also have her geared to generate limit break, so I can weave that in when I need it and have it set up for Phase 2. And then I have her set up with a earth weapon and a water weapon, mainly to finish those two missions. My main damage dealer for this is, you can deal all the elements, but this is just in case you don't have Randy, you can do this setup. Now the reason I need her dealing damage will be explained a little bit later. And again, here's my Randy. I'm set up for Spirit Killer. The main reason that I'm not using fixed dice is because I don't have all the gear to really maximize it, so I'm using this instead. Then I have Santa Rosalia. Typical setup for her. Her main thing throughout this fight is going to be keeping re-raise up on Wilhelm and CG Lid, while also dispelling when needed. CG Nickel. Buffs. Really, that's it. Buffs, mana, management, that's about it. Then my friend here, set up like such. So, let's get going. Hopefully this works out well. Now, these things don't take very much damage from physical at all, but you want to be physical for Phase 2. Now, here's the reason why you want to have CG Lid dealing damage. Is these things counter anytime you deal magic damage or physical damage to them, and they counter based on the number of hits you deal as well, but they only counter the first unit that does that. So by having CG Lid attack first every single time with one of her breaks, you guarantee that all 6 of them basically just attack CG Lid, and that's it. So she serves as sort of a debuffer and a tank at the same time, and this allows you to freely attack with your other members. I'm also using Nickel here to generate Esper Gauge for the missions, and for this first part I will go ahead and use Fire and then Light Damage with Randy, and that will actually complete all the missions except for the Chain, which I'm about to do, and then obviously the Esper, which I will summon later. Let's go ahead and attack this one first, doesn't really matter. Now, because this will take a few turns, about 25 to 30 turns, give or take, I'm going to go through until the first sort of phase goes by, basically when they buff and I need to dispel them, and from then on, I will actually just skip until we get down to the last one of these little dolls, just to save time. Again here, Wilhelm, just going to defend, and CG Lid is now going to use her other break, and I'm just going to rotate between those two breaks. The only time I'm going to change that is after I deal, after I dispel the enemies once they buff themselves. I will use her limit break after that if it is up. That's the only time that's really going to change. And then from here on, it's just a matter of using light chains and just whittling these guys down. Now, I'm using Wilhelm, but if you use, I believe you could probably use a 100% dodge tank, because all of the damage that these guys are doing in Phase 1, I believe, is single target physical, outside of the counter. Now, if you're curious, the counter cannot be provoked, but it can be covered. So if you use AoE cover, you can do that. But this is just the easiest way I found, and I didn't really test whether or not you could dodge all those attacks or not. So that might be worth testing out if you want to. That would make this fight even easier if you could do that. Okay, they haven't yet used their buffs on themselves. We'll just go ahead and keep applying re-raise, keeping everyone alive, keeping mana up. This really is a boring fight, to be honest. There's not a whole lot going on, and once you are able to figure out a way to manage the incoming damage, I guess it would probably be good to point out the reason because I said, you know, these things don't take a lot of damage from physical. This first phase works a lot like the Malboro fight, where this first phase they take a lot of damage from magic attacks, but in the second phase, when Calcabrina is one form, she takes very little damage from magic. Exact same thing, but again, I'm using physical simply because of the second phase. Now here they buffed themselves. Now this is a full buff here. So we're just going to go ahead and dispel them, and recast re-raise on Lid, and then Lid is actually going to use her limit break. And what this will do is it'll make sure that Wilhelm doesn't die if, for whatever chance, his re-raise falls off after this. So then also they're going to take a lot more damage now. We'll do this, we'll attack. And that's basically the whole fight for this first phase, so I will see you when we're down to one of these Prinas left. Okay, and now we are down to just one of these things left. The important thing I need to do here before taking this out and moving on to the next phase of the fight is to just make sure that I have CG Lid's limit break at max, which should not be an issue. Other than that, just continuing what I've been doing the whole fight. If you'll notice, my Esper gauge is all the way down. I did go ahead and just randomly use an Esper when I had a chance. I used Wilhelm to do that. It doesn't matter who it is, so long as it's not CG Lid, because she always has something to do. So now the only thing left to do is to just finish the fight. Really, it's a very boring fight. Did you buff yourself? No, you didn't. Okay. Just going through the motions over and over again. At this point, I'm just making sure re-raise doesn't fall off more, just so I make sure I don't forget and make a mistake for some stupid reason or whatnot. Because right now, about the only way I could fail this fight is to make a stupid mistake. Okay, looks like the Prina B buffed itself. That's annoying. Raise here, dispel. Gonna be a second turn in a row here that the Brina doesn't have a physical debuff on it, but not much I can do about that. Now again, you could go a magic route and you could use only magic throughout this phase. Oh, that's up. I screwed that up. You could use magic throughout this phase, and it would greatly shorten how long this phase takes, but it would increase the length in the second phase, and there's a reason you don't want to do that. I'll explain that once we get there. But if there's one thing you want to avoid, more for your own sanity, not because it makes the fight any more difficult, you want to avoid bringing magic to the second phase. Not a good idea. Let's try not to mess up my chains again. Two more turns of this before we move on to the next phase. Shouldn't have been this long, but I screwed up my chain there pretty bad. Man, maybe it's 3 turns, jeez. Now, even when you get down to one Brina like this, you want to avoid using her CG Lids Absorbs, because they don't deal damage. And you really want to be dealing damage with her. Otherwise, it's going to be your main damage dealers that will get counterattacked. Okay, it looks like that we got through that phase. So now we're going to move on to phase 2. And like I said, here we're going to fight Calcabrina by herself. Now, the reason you want to make sure you have like all your stuff ready, the reason you want to bring physical, because like I said, this second phase, the boss takes more damage from physical than magic, and if you get the boss to under, I believe it's 21% or maybe 20%, and you don't kill it, then it will split back up into its 6 little dolls again, and you have to kill them all over again before you can move back to fighting Calcabrina, and it just extends the fight way more than you need it to. So it's best just to go ahead and take her out. So we're going to go ahead and debuff her with CG Lid, and then we are going to go ahead and use Fallen Star to lower her resistances by 100%. We're going to hope that is enough, because if it's not, well, we're in trouble. And we do want to make sure we have big buffs up. Alright. If I can chain this right. And there we go. And that's the fight. It's not too difficult. Like I said, you could probably get away with just using a physical tank, or not physical, a dodge tank in phase 1, and that's probably actually be better now that I think about it. So I would try that out if you haven't finished the fight, and I hope this video helped you guys. See you next time.